Oh, yeah! Right.
So there we have it.
Yup, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in that situation. A YouTuber with 400,000 subscribers on a sofa with Mr. Beast, one of the biggest creators on the planet, hand delivering him a Game Boy, having traveled halfway across the world. Well, here's that story. Massive thank you to iFixit for sponsoring this video. If you're in need of a high quality toolkit, check out ifixit.com/retrofuture or click on the link in the top of the description. And if you want to win this piece of Game Boy that made this video possible, then go ahead and leave a comment down below and make sure you're subscribed. So a year ago, I was tasked with building Mr. Beast some custom Game Boys. I wanted to thank him for the impact that had on my channel in a unique way, with a cool surprise I knew he would like. He told me he loved Pokemon.
I love Pokemon.
And with all of the recent hype around Pokemon, anything to do with the franchise has become a bit of an appreciating asset. I was scrolling around on a Japanese auction site when I stumbled across this. A Japanese exclusive Pokemon Center Game Boy Color. I had to buy it. It arrived a few weeks later, and when I unboxed it, I discovered it had a broken screen. So I'll need to fix that, but this gift is going to be perfect. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. The only problem is that Jimmy lives in North Carolina, which is several thousand miles from the small island that I'm from. But luckily, someone invented the plane, which allows people to travel around the world. So with that, it was time to head to the airport.
It's time to go to America.
Good God, that was cringy. So the mission begun. I head through security and immediately came across an issue.
Yeah, the screwdriver kit.
My screwdriver kit had to be removed from my bag. My tools to fix Mr. Beast's Game Boy were confiscated, and I now had no way of fixing the screen.
So I've made it 50 meters, and security have taken away my screwdriver kit. I'm going to be giving Mr. Beast a broken Game Boy.
Brilliant! I called iFixit and they sent a screwdriver kit out to Jimmy's house the moment the phone was put down. And with that began the first of 3 flights and 14 hours in the air. Lovely. I had to figure out all of my COVID testing and stuff before entering America, which was a complete mess and extremely stressful, but eventually I managed to get the flight to New York.
Right, so I've landed in JFK, now heading to the next flights that I've got to catch. Honestly, feels just so surreal to be here, but yeah, on to the next one. Would you believe that out of everything in my bag, I had my laptop, my liquids, the Game Boy was the thing that got flagged up on the security. Can't believe it.
After the final flight landed in North Carolina, I had to get some sleep and meet Mr. Beast the following day, all whilst praying the iFixit screwdriver kit arrived. So, it's the next day. Here I am. That was a long day of traveling. It's my first day here. I'm not sure what the plan is. I have apparently received the iFixit screwdriver kit, but it's at one of Mr. Beast's team's house, so I need to meet up with him, get the screwdriver kit, then meet Mr. Beast. So let's see how this all pans out. I've got no idea. So I'm on set, like in this massive warehouse where everything's going down relating to making a Mr. Beast video. It's absolutely insane. People are winning money left, right, and center. Legitimately doing challenges in freezing cold temperatures and stuff. I've seen the set of the Squid Game bridge that they used. It's actually real. Like, they're legitimately falling down holes and stuff. Obviously, I can't film anything, but this is some crazy world that's going on. A slight change of plan. I'm actually gonna get Carl and Chris to fix Mr. Beast's really rare, expensive Game Boy. Let's see how they do. So after 10 hours of flying, here I am. I'm in Mr. Beast's warehouse. Hello. This is Chris and Carl.
Hi. Hi.
I made Game Boys for these guys as a part of the video last year. Here's a clip of them unboxing that. Apparently you still use yours.
I cherish it.
And you use yours.
I play Fire Red on it all the time.
You actually pointed out that you like the screen
Yeah,
feature
I
as
like
well.
changing the color for like when I'm in the grass regions or in the water regions. It's pretty fun.
I bought Jimmy a little thank you gift because that video legitimately has like made a substantial change to my life. This is actually something that I bought from Japan.
See that?
Yeah, yeah. So that it's from.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
That is really
It is. So it's from 1999 and it's to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of Pocket Monsters, which is what the Japanese called Pokemon. You can kind of see where Pokemon came from. Pocket.
Okay.
Monsters,
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah, right.
But it's broken.
Oh,
It's broken.
It's actually broken.
It
yeah.
is broken.
I didn't do it.
It is actually broken. So we're gonna fix it.
No way.
Right here, right now. We're gonna actually fix it.
Oh
So
my
I hope you
God.
guys are keen because you're doing it.
No.
No, not.
We're gonna mess it up.
Legitimately, you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're actually doing
He's
it.
got a burned hand though.
That's
I literally
fine.
just. Wait, okay.
So you're gonna have to slide out the
Didn't
small.
you say it's sealed?
It isn't sealed.
Oh, okay.
They didn't seal them.
Okay.
There's nothing on it to seal. So you're gonna have to very carefully slide it out.
I'm really doing this.
You got it. Here, I'll take the
I'm like
flat.
shaking. I'm shaking.
Yeah. I'll hold this.
Okay.
I'm doing it very carefully.
Hold the flat.
I just want to say, if you in any way damage this, the Game Boy community will come for you.
No, please.
Yeah, even the box, bro. Well, it
Okay,
was.
I did a really good job today.
Yeah, you've done a really good job actually.
Yeah, see, you see that cardboard bit?
That is not me. That was not
That's
me.
it. It's going in the bin. Get the flamethrower.
So the LCD is messed up.
Yeah. So if you want to take that out of the bag, we shall very carefully set the expensive
It
part
looks like
to
a
the side.
pair of lips. Like actually, like somebody kissed it.
Yeah, so it's
My bad.
it's actually underneath the screen. So
Oh, God.
it's to do with like the adhesive with the different layers that make up the screen.
Gotcha.
This is such a beautiful Game Boy.
Yeah, so they were only released in Japan. This one is actually a Japanese exclusive Game Boy.
That is so cool.
So you ready to take it apart?
Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
He is ready.
You know what? I have a degree in computers. You probably didn't know that, but it's a Game Boy's a computer.
So we're going to use this iFixit toolkit, which is way more advanced than we actually need. We only need 2 screwdriver bits from it.
If I mess this up, I'm sorry, Game Boy community. I was somewhat of a gamer myself. I used to play BattleBots on my Game Boy Color.
These are 2 screens. You're going to have to see which one works. Okay.
Well, the one that says GBC works. Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't seem as prepared for this as I thought you were.
I don't really know what's going on, to be honest with you.
Let's go. Let's go. We're just free balling.
Where am I? How did I get here?
I'm in America.
I would like to just reiterate one more time that you will get pitchforks and torch fires if you damage this in any way.
I'm ready.
The only thing we need.
We eat these, right?
Yeah, those are meant to be.
See,
eaten.
they say do eat.
Yeah. You ignore the crucial word in the middle. And that.
Okay.
And then that's that.
I'm gonna guess this one first.
Yep, you're gonna need that one. So that is called a tri-wing bit.
Tri-wing.
It tries its best.
It's
So there's 6 of those on the back. And just, oh my god, this is actually.
He's getting in there.
I'm doing it.
He's got-
Even they're like rose gold screws.
Yeah, this is in good condition. This has never even been like turned on.
Hey, same Game Boy, same.
Slide the Game Boy forward just a little bit.
Oh.
Okay.
He's like,
Yeah. Windy
Oh
thing.
my god. We are gonna.
These screws don't want to come out. But
do you regret making us do
Do you
it?
know the thing is like I just know what like the community of Game Boys are like. There's 2 more underneath the battery cover as well.
of course I knew that.
Yeah.
I was just setting my screwdriver down for safekeeping.
Have you ever taken a Game Boy apart?
No, because if I messed up my Game Boy, my parents wouldn't buy me another one.
I have to say you're doing a very good job and you're being really, really careful with it.
All right.
Okay. So now, oh, there we go. Oh my god.
All right.
All right. So you need to switch out the bit to the Philips.
Hey, the
This
bit.
looks overheated. We should pour some water on it.
Yeah,
I think that's what it needs. Okay, so this is
The big boy's next, right? You want that last one?
Yeah.
go on.
Go and
do-
get that
do
doggy.
the
We
last
switch
one.
these.
Yeah. I did all the work. You get all the credit. No. Get out. We're fixing your prize. Hold on.
These 2 small little like tabs. You
For
have
the ribbon cables.
Yeah, you have to slide them up. So if you imagine they're sort of going to do that. That's the angle.
I had to get me a little bit of extra space, and
Yeah.
now watch.
That's the angle. That's it. It's going.
There we go. And as he gets his
Right, now
side,
you
that'll
need to-
get me.
You
You ready?
need to scooch up the other side now.
And then that'll give me a little bit slack on mine. That was a little.
That's it.
So you actually hit the side of the ribbon cable.
I didn't even
Slow-mo?
touch. Literally
Slow-mo?
play the clip.
Slow-mo?
You weren't even looking.
I don't want to be so aggressive.
You're
though.
gonna be fine.
Oh.
There we go.
Are you kidding?
Oh.
It slid right out.
There
Oh
we
my
go.
god.
So we've got another one that we're gonna use to take the screen out of to fix this screen. So I'm gonna show them how to get the screen out because it's an incredibly complicated thing which could go horribly wrong. But it looks a bit like this.
None of that sounded like it was
There we
supposed
go.
to sound like that.
Well, there's adhesive there, so that's why it's quite difficult to do. I would just sort of like ever so slightly just nudging it up. There we go, there we go, there we go. You're done, you're done. Now reach
Right,
in there and
pull
pull
that
it on out.
Pull that thing out.
Get up,
That's
for
it.
that.
Use your fingers, go for it.
Get your fingies out.
There we go. I mean, it's broken anyway. We're pretty good. There we go. And then we just.
This one's broken. We're
We
done
gotta
with this.
clean this,
We're
right?
done with this one 100%.
Yep.
Very carefully.
Okay.
Whoa.
Almost.
Look
A
at-
little bit up. A little bit up. There it is. There it is.
I don't want it to line up with the.
It can only go in like. Yep. That's
Boom.
it. That's it.
So what happens if this screen doesn't work?
We have to do the whole thing again. Yeah. There we go. That's it.
Hey.
That's perfect. And then the other one.
You're doing it. You're killing it.
You are actually doing really well. This is fantastic. Now a trick for this: if you slightly reverse the screw, don't tighten it. And when
It'll
you
get it
hear
set
the
properly.
click, there we go. When you hear that click, then you can turn it. There we go. That's it. So the reason why you're doing that is it's going to find the initial screw thread that was created from the manufacturer and then won't break the plastic. You guys are doing an amazing job. Like genuinely doing a really, really good job.
I feel like he only brings that up whenever I'm doing it though, right?
I feel like though, what would be the alternative? What did he expect? Just start slapping it with a screwdriver and be like,
He's done moderately okay at best.
"Ugh," we're just stabbing the screwdriver. How do we?
I mean, this is some professional work.
Hey, you know what? We're taking your channel. We own it now.
Yeah, I'll just go.
Leave.
Yeah, cool. There we go. You've got it. It just needs to go in at a certain sort of.
Yeah.
Anytime there's any
There we
force,
go. That's it. That's it. That's
There we
it.
go.
Dude, you've really got the hang of the whole like reversing, find the thread.
Yeah, I heard the click that time. That was good.
What advice would you give people who haven't done this before? Do you think they can do it?
don't.
Whoa.
It's stressful. Try on an inexpensive Game Boy first.
Whoa!
Don't look,
get
don't
out!
look.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Sorry, Jimmy.
Moment of truth, or we might have to undo everything.
Oh
we
yeah, that
just
would be
did.
bad. That would be bad.
Yeah! Touchdown!
Oh my god, that hurts. Jimmy, come on down, mate.
Sit down.
No, it's covered.
No,
It's
no,
covered
it's
up.
good.
He gift wrapped it. Be careful when you take off this.
Chris, we're filming a video.
I'm sorry, I'm so
Get out of
allergic
here.
to you.
Just leave.
Okay.
These guys genuinely just fixed it for you.
Wait,
Okay.
I did most of it.
Facing the right way.
Not for the viewers.
Hey! These are like really, really rare and like really sought after.
Yeah.
And obviously with the
Well, here's my test. Carl, if I gave this to Chris, would you retest?
Yeah,
Okay, then that's all I needed to know. So I shouldn't slide it.
No, you can open it because you're gonna have to look at it.
Okay.
No one's really played a game on this before. This is like unused.
Okay.
the screen was broken and we
They
fixed it.
fixed the screen. I mean, the screen is now probably
I
more
feel
broken.
like. Am I supposed to open it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Whoa!
Well, it would be easy because
What if you rip the box
if
back?
you mess up the box, Game Boy nerds are gonna get mad.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Dude, you're the king of the nerds. Show us what to do.
Okay, I am the king of the nerds. I'll take that. Right. So yeah.
See, I didn't even know that flop was there.
So this is it. It's literally like we put a game in it just to show you it sort of working. But there we go.
Go ahead and flick it on, man.
All right, let's see it.
Every
Bro, this gives me so much nostalgia. Bro, this makes me want to start playing Pokemon again.
Well, if only you had a Game Boy to play it.
Didn't a new Pokemon game just drop?
Yeah.
On the Switch, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think your gaming experience is enhanced because you've got all these Pokemon looking at you?
They're all
Look, do
smiling.
you like how
That was
the,
such a long
Oh
do you like
my
how the
god!
light makes up
Holy
the
crap!
So there we have it, Jimmy. I hope you like
I
your
played
present.
long enough to name myself Butt, yes.
Nice.
Alright, I'm gonna set this down before I mess it up.
There's a little display case there for you to keep it in, whack it on a shelf, and wait for you.
Whack on a shelf.
Black on a shelf.
Are you-
Speak stupid for us.
Place it on a shelf.
Y'all can put it on a shelf.
I just want to say a massive thank you. Really appreciated the opportunity to make that video with you last year, and thanks guys as well. You were in that video, and you've also fixed this for Jimmy, so that's
We did
sick.
it.
And I stole all those Game Boys.
Yeah,
We
you
did.
did steal all the Game Boys. Yeah,
I
you
stole
did.
one of them.
And he actually just told me that he did genuinely take the 3 of them.
I took 3.
He did.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
No problem. And I hope they subscribe if they're not already clicking right now. I don't know if you make those kind of videos.
It's probably it'll do. We'll make it an exception.
Not every comment's gonna be like, cringe, he asked us to subscribe.
It's all yours.
Yeah,
You
I
spelled
like
butt wrong, bro. Two T's.
You're a legend, man. I
Can
really
I have my
appreciate
Game Boy back?
Yeah.
So there we have it, just like that, I surprised Mr. Beast with an ultra rare Pokemon Game Boy. As I said, if you want to be in for a chance to win this piece of a Game Boy that made a huge part in making this video possible, then go ahead and subscribe and leave a comment down below, and I'll pick a random winner in a couple of weeks. Massive thank you to iFixit for making this video possible, and a huge thank you to every single one of the people at Mr. Beast's team for making me feel so welcome and helping me out with everything that I need. If you've made it this far in the video, you're an absolute legend. Comment down below with the word tree just to confuse everyone else, and I'll heart it. And with that, I'm gonna now fly 14 hours back to where I came from. Bye.
Previously on
I'm not giving up, but in the interest of getting something out there, I've decided to end this video here, and when we meet again in part 2, hopefully we'll have something that actually works. Yep, we're finally doing it. Must have been a whole fucking year, Jesus Christ. If you haven't seen the first part, well, you should, but I'll recap anyway. My goal was to build the fastest machine I could with parts that still officially supported Windows 98, picking from a tiny window of time at the tail end of hardware manufacturers supporting it. Yep, this is all about finding the fastest hardware we can. After all, this idea all came from trying to run 98 on a modern laptop, naturally finding all sorts of driver support issues, and wondering how new a fully supported 98 machine could be. So that's what we're here to find out. Fastest 98 PC possible, regardless of how much compatibility might be lost in the process. Anyways, I'm sure you're eager to see it in action, but first let me talk about what parts I've chosen and why this took so goddamn long. First, let me talk about the motherboard. Last time, I'll be honest, I didn't put much thought into the motherboard. My criteria was chipset with Windows 98 drivers, AGP since I don't know of any PCIe cards that support 98, and socket 775 since that'd be the newest socket that could still conceivably have those other features. Still, that's a pretty rare combination. Socket 775 began in 2004, well into the era of Windows XP. But hey, tracking down rare parts was what this project was all about. But due to the rareness, I ended up kind of impulse buying the first one I found that met that criteria, which looking back was probably a mistake. I think the motherboard I chose was, kind of crap, especially when it came to its 98 support. This time I've been a little bit more choosy. Our criteria is still largely the same, as much as I wanted to ditch AGP. A lot of you guys expressed no surprise that a lot of my AGP cards were dead, saying that AGP cards are pretty notorious for dying, especially at this age. Unfortunately, when it comes to official support, we don't really have many choices. Even if I could find a PCIe motherboard that supported Windows 98, the fastest card we can use is still AGP internally. Even the PCIe version just uses an AGP to PCIe bridge chip on the card, so there's absolutely no benefit to using the PCIe version. So AGP stays, and so does socket 775. Not only does that give us a wide range since it was standard for a fairly long time, but since they'll all be from 2004 or later, the CPUs overall will be much faster than most 98 systems would have had back in the day. But there is a snag, which is that not every 775 motherboard is compatible with every 775 CPU. This list on Vogons, which was a super valuable resource for this project, shows that a lot of 775 motherboards with AGP only supported Pentium 4s and Celerons. Some people wondered why my last build had a Pentium 4 rather than a Core 2 of some kind, and well, this is why. That board I got was one of those Pentium 4 only boards. However, it turns out there are a handful of AGP boards that do support Core 2. I was talking about rare motherboards before, but these are even rarer. But for attempt number 2, I knew I had to track one down in the name of making things ultimate. Way back in February, I'd finally decided on the parts and had it all planned out. Unfortunately, where I live, rare computer parts tend to be even rarer than they are in other places, and while I waited about a month or so for the motherboard I'd chosen to show up somewhere locally, I eventually bit the bullet and bought one from overseas around mid-March this year. Guess what else started to happen around mid-March this year? That's right, people started fighting over toilet paper. So yeah, if not for that, perhaps we'd be doing this video in April or May instead of now. It took so long I even kept looking for local listings just to see if I could get one any sooner, but alas. It took 6 whole months, but finally in September, the motherboard arrived straight from the Russian Federation. Say hello to the Asus P5PE-VM, socket 775, AGP, Windows 98 compatible chipset, and crucially, Core 2 support. Some people said the last motherboard I chose was too new and I needed something older, but instead I ended up going with something 2 years newer, because I hate you all. It's definitely a unique motherboard. For 2006, it has a lot of features that would have seemed old even then, such as AC97 audio, DDR1 RAM, an Intel 865G chipset from 2004, and of course AGP, as we've mentioned. I kind of feel like this motherboard was designed specifically to run old software. Either that or these components were really cheap to manufacture. But I think with this, we can pretty confidently say that this will be the fastest 98 PC that you can build. Speaking of which, let's talk CPUs. Since we're no longer restricted to Pentium 4s anymore, let's go all out. This time I've chosen an Intel Core 2 Duo E8600 running at 3.33 GHz. You may be thinking that 3.33 sounds slower than the 3.8 GHz Pentium 4 that we're replacing, particularly since Windows 98 won't be able to make much use of those 2 cores in the Core 2 Duo. But clock speed isn't everything. Pentium 4s were notoriously inefficient. In fact, you could argue the only reason their clock speeds were so high is because they were so inefficient. A better way to compare is with benchmarks, a kind of real-world performance test. And looking at single-threaded performance only for our very single-threaded Windows 98, the 8600 doesn't just benchmark faster than our old Pentium 4, it's in fact the fastest benchmarking single-core performance of any Socket 775 CPU in existence. Yeah, any of them. As far as I'm concerned, this is the fastest CPU that can run Windows 98, period. Finally, the GPU. I had initially considered fixing the dead 6800 Ultra I had last time, but I'm really no expert in component level repair, so instead I'm starting off with one of these. Now, this may seem like a weird and contradictory choice. Indeed, if you're familiar with this card, you know it's neither fast nor particularly ultimate, but hear me out. Since I had so much trouble with AGP graphics cards last time, I felt like I didn't want to invest in another rare high-end card until I knew everything else was functioning properly. Until then, while I was still experimenting and getting things set up, I wanted something cheap and fairly low risk. And the FX 5200 is about as dime a dozen as you can get for AGP. We'll see how well it does and replace it if necessary. Oh, and one last thing. By popular demand, dual channel RAM. I actually did intend to do this last time, I just didn't have two matching sticks at the time, and while I intended to get some, I ended up getting distracted by how broken everything was. Also, I could only find two 512 sticks, so we will need to configure 98 to limit the memory since more than 512 is known to make 98 unstable. Besides that, everything else is the same. Same SSD, Blu-ray drive, case, all that. So without further ado, let's get to building. During this time, I'll address something a lot of people mentioned on my last video, the heatsink. I put it on backwards. I have no excuse for this. I guess my caveman brain assumed fan meant air go this way, but upon further inspection it definitely does not, so my bad. We'll get him next time. And with the magic of editing, there we have it. The important question is, does it work? Well, does it? Nope. Which I kind of expected. I've already mentioned how my computer builds almost never work the first try. You know, it's kind of like programming. It's almost more suspicious if it does work the first time. I checked all the usual suspects, reseated the memory, the graphics card, and the 12-volt power rail. This board actually has integrated graphics, so I tried that too, but nothing was getting it to boot. God, wouldn't it suck if I spent this long waiting for this specific motherboard and it just turned out to be dead? But as I was looking things up about this motherboard, I spotted something. Something I probably should have seen a long time ago. A list of compatible CPUs for this motherboard. And guess what? The E8600 was nowhere on it. Well, I'm glad I got this death cable in the last video. I may have some use for it after all. I felt like there was still maybe a chance though. The latest BIOS update says it supports new CPUs, with a link to a page that doesn't exist anymore. So maybe this board just has an old BIOS and the website is badly maintained? Okay, I know it's a stretch, but come on, just let me have this. I have nothing else to look forward to in 2020. But to update the BIOS, we'll need to, you know, actually have it turn on. So we'll need to use a different CPU for the time being. Unfortunately, I already sold the Pentium 4 from the last video, so I had to salvage another Pentium 4 from this other PC. It's okay, it was a junk system anyway. Changing the CPU was easier said than done. The heatsink is screwed down with these toolless nuts, but it's almost impossible to realistically fit your hand in this gap here. You can use a flathead screwdriver, which does make it a lot easier, but even then it still finds ways to fall off and bounce into some other hard-to-reach area of the case. The only nut I'm feeling is one directly into my eye. Anyway, eventually I got the new CPU in and it booted up. The BIOS immediately appeared and post-beeped, so I guess that confirms the CPU is the culprit. Honestly, at this point I'm just glad the motherboard isn't broken. The BIOS claimed to be version 2.53, and the latest is 1501? Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. Okay, the startup screen says revision 0702, which strikes me as a lot smaller than 1501, so let's give updating a shot. This BIOS, being, you know, old, unfortunately predates built-in flashing, so we'll have to find some OS to boot into. Or at least that's what I thought, before I realized 98 was still installed on this SSD from last time. Booting into this was a trip. The first thing I noticed was that it was very fast, which is interesting because I remember noting that the last build was slower than I expected. Of course, it then entered a flurry of new device found messages because the hardware was literally all new, with the funniest part was the mouse was going absolutely apeshit. The keyboard still works, so I can still control it, but the mouse is just doing whatever it wants and having a good time. I plugged in another mouse and it worked fine, so I guess that mouse just coincidentally broke. Anyways, I skipped past the new devices, but then it kind of froze and blue screened. Lovely. I can't really complain though, this is a year-old install from a whole other computer that was already having driver issues before. I booted into safe mode because I figured as long as I could get DOS running I could flash the BIOS, but of course the problem there was that then no flash drive drivers would load, and I didn't have a floppy drive, and the Blu-ray drive wasn't being picked up either, so how exactly are we gonna get the BIOS update on there? It was at this point that I realized the BIOS supported USB booting. I'd kind of assumed it'd be too old for that, but cool. So I just ended up